Now, the England captain Harry Kane has told talkSPORT that reports of him holding a team meeting after the Denmark draw are untrue. There were rumours that the Bayern Munich striker had gathered his teammates without the coaches to discuss what had been going wrong at Euro 2024. But yesterday, talkSPORT's England correspondent Faye Carruthers asked him about it.
There have been a couple of reports around that you called a player summit on Friday morning after the game. Can you confirm if that's the case and what was the purpose of it?
No, that didn't happen, so I'm not sure where that's come from. I think, again, probably just people trying to maybe create something out of nothing really. The day after the game was, just a small debrief that we always do from the manager, and then it was just a family day. We had 7 hours with the family, which I'm not sure all the lads were quite happy about. After a few hours, it was pretty hectic, to be fair. So we might cut that down in the future. But no, that's what it was, and I think it was an important day just to kind of switch the minds off. We've done well in the tournament so far, 4 points after 2 games, but in this sort of environment, you need a chance just to switch off, and that's what that day was for.
You like that, didn't you? A bit of personality.
I like that. Yeah, funny that. I know exactly where he's coming from as well with
that. Faye joins us now. She's in the England camp. Good morning to you, Faye. Thanks for coming on the programme this morning. How was Harry Kane's mood at the press conference yesterday? There was a little bit of levity.
That he said, but with a little bit of humour, he came across as really relaxed and calm, and I feel like he came out for a reason. We don't usually get the England captain out this early in the group stages doing the main press conference, so I think that was quite important in a way. They put all their big hitters out actually yesterday. I sat down with John Stones as well, so they've put the experienced players out there. It feels like they're protecting some of the youngsters, and interesting actually, part of the responses that Harry Kane gave when he was asked various different questions, he himself, as has Gareth Southgate, mentioned that some of the less experienced players that are in this team actually listen to a lot of the criticism that's going on outside, and that is a bit of a worry because it's been mentioned a few times now, so they need to work out a way of how to either protect the players from the criticism on the outside or teach them how to deal with it, because unfortunately, as part of an England play, you're going to get a lot of criticism and a lot of scrutiny all the time. But yeah, it was quite funny with the kids. We've all got kids. We know exactly what it's like. Chaos for 7 hours of children en masse. I mean, that's going to want you to have some peace and quiet and shut off from the outside world for sure.
Faye, let me ask you, because you're right, that the performances in the first 2 games we know haven't been there. They've still got 4 points, so it's not all doom and gloom. But do you think there has been an overreaction to the performances, or do you think it's just what comes with playing for England?
Well, the performances haven't been good enough, so the reaction comes with the performances. So unfortunately, if you're going to put in performances like that, I mean, there's no lack of effort there at all. You can tell that, but it's just not clicking. It's not working. But they're playing slightly differently. They've got different personnel in different places. So, it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm always quite measured about these things because I think you grow into a tournament, and we've seen so many times before England win the first game, draw the second. It's happened in the last 2 tournaments before this one. Then they win the third one, qualify somewhat comfortably, and the performances improve. And Harry Kane himself grows into tournaments as well. He was quick to point out yesterday he's not scored in a group stage of a major tournament, and he's won the Golden Boot in one. So, I think we need to be more measured, but I can understand why people get quite angry because there is so much build-up. We're guilty of it at talkSPORT. We build it up for weeks and weeks and weeks, months and months really, since the turn of the year when you think about it, waiting for the March camp and what's going to happen, and then the warm-up games, and then into the tournament. It's part of being an England player that you have to take a lot of this on your shoulders, and the criticism is fair when people have spent a lot of money to come over and watch you in a major tournament and you're one of the favourites. But equally, I think quite a lot of the England fans, and not always the ones that ring up and put their opinion on the radio, are quite measured about it. They just prefer to see better performances and give them a little bit more hope, because at the moment, everybody is thinking, well, we're not going to win it if we play like this, and we're not going to win it if we play like this. And I think the players understand that as well.
I think there's no problem with getting excited about a major tournament coming around, especially when you've got the best player in the league, the best player in the Premier League, half the Manchester City defence, the second best goalkeeper, the top goal scorer in the Bundesliga. You're right to expect them to put in some decent performances. But I think what's really interesting is if you go back through the group stages, and being the sad person that I am, yesterday I spent the afternoon going back through the group stages of every tournament since 1966. England have only ever won all 3 group games once. Do you know the year?
Wow.
Let's have a go.
No.
74.
Funnily enough.
They didn't even get to 1974. They didn't even get to the World Cup in 1974. 1982, they won the first 3 games. It's the only time they've ever won. Even in 1966, didn't win the first 3 group games. So no one ever. I mean, and actually, if you go through the whole of the European Championships and World Cup history, there's not many teams that win all 3 group games. It just doesn't happen like that. And sometimes it is a bit of a slow burner, and I can understand that. But I also understand the expectation. I can understand why people want to see more from the team because of what I just said about the great players that are available. So, I think it's just par for the course. You just got to get through this next game and put in a good performance against Slovenia. You have a great game tomorrow. Everything changes. The mood changes very quickly. You've been in that camp. You know what it's like. As soon as a big victory comes their way, I go back to Euro 96. They weren't great against Switzerland. They drew that game. They beat Scotland. That was good. But then the euphoria came after the last group game, which was the victory over the Netherlands. Go back to 1990. They got to the semi-finals. Their last group game was against Egypt. They'd drawn the previous 2 games and weren't even sure of going through. And they beat Egypt by 1-0. I think Mark Wright scored. And it completely changed the tone of the tournament. So a big result tomorrow. Anything can change, Faye.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It's, people want to see England score 3, 4, 5 goals. That's what they want to see. I want to see that as England correspondent. You both as England fans and Benty as a former England player, you want to see that as well. And I think, we just have to be a little bit measured. Wait till the last 16. If we don't perform in the last 16, and Harry Kane said this himself, if we get to that point where we go out with not a good performance. If you go back to the World Cup in Qatar and we were knocked out in the quarter-final stage, but we put in a really good performance, so people weren't upset about that. They were, not happy to have gone home, but understood that actually we went home to a slightly better team on the night, even though we were probably the better team overall. So, you just have to be a little bit more measured about it, I think, and let's start to judge them when we get to the knockout stages. And then, it's an old cliche, but it's so true. You have to take it game by game, and that's what they're going to do. But I think, maybe giving the younger players a little bit more of a thick skin might help that. Certainly scoring, a few goals is going to help temper the noise outside for sure.
Sorry, Faye, because I really want to let you go because you almost got run over by a bicycle, and anyone watching on YouTube saw that flashing past you at a rapid speed, but you didn't flinch. So well done to you for handling that so well. But I just want to ask you one more question, because one of the things that I think Gareth Southgate has done for this England team, in fact for the country as a whole, is that he's opened up this team. He's made them more accessible. He's made the connection with the public so much more tight and close. I just don't want this period, if it is to be Gareth's last period in charge, for it to go back to the old days when Benty was in the squad, where it just felt like there was a real disconnect. I don't want that to happen. It just feels like that's the kind of tone. Siege mentality is fine. I understand that, if that's a motivating tactic. I'm just a little bit worried that it's going back to that sort of retreating into a shell.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think the FA and Gareth Southgate have worked really hard to make sure that there is a connection between the players and the fans. And certainly, we've got we're broadcasting from a castle in Blankenheim, just down the road from where the England players are training. And the players come into what used to be a former library to sit down and talk to us. We're calling it the talkSPORT Den. Although John Stones yesterday completely had me when I said, "What would you call it?" And he went, "It's just a backdrop, isn't it?" Which, in fairness, it is just a backdrop, but we've tried to make it look pretty. But they're coming in there really relaxed and chilled, and they know that their interviews with me and other media outlets are being watched by so many England fans, and they're having that connection. They're being quite honest. They're being careful. Obviously, they're these are players in a modern age where they've had media training. They know that, one slip of the tongue and one bad word could potentially be twisted into something else. So they're careful in that way, but they're really relaxed and, wanting to have fun when we do fun social features, for example. They want people to know their personalities as well. So I don't feel like we're getting that disconnect from what I'm seeing, in front of me. But I can see that if a lot of the negativity continues, that there might be a little bit more reticence to do as much with the media as they currently do.
Okay, thank you, Faye. Good luck. Try to stay safe and keep avoiding those bicycles. We're back with you throughout the course of the day. England against Slovenia is live on talkSPORT tomorrow night. All the games from the European Championships are live on talkSPORT.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.